I obviously wanted to try and have a chat, try and keep things ticking over, keep you up to date, and talk about what happened. Um, Even those people who perhaps are the most asleep, or at least refusing to take notice of what's been said, must have been aware that a large part of social media platforms came down for a number of hours, as predicted yesterday. And those of you who did see the podcast, I did give those dates between a beginning and an ending, 4th and the 8th, where we would expect activity to occur. And so I'm very pleased that things in the public eye are actually happening. Mainstream media will brush over it. They'll probably say that it was some sort of worldwide glitch, but they won't want to discuss it because it's not their agenda. It's not their story. I know that very many of you are disappointed that when you switched on uh, this morning, or whenever you switch on, the social media platforms are back up and running. And many of you would have liked to have seen them permanently off, and then other wider things happening. Some commentators are saying that it was a test. That's not actually strictly accurate. The people behind this social media shutdown didn't need to test it. They knew exactly what would happen when they press this button, or they do this, or they do that. What they did have in Texas and in other places were teams of people monitoring the effect of what they'd done. So it wasn't a test to see if it worked. It was a test, in that sense of the word, to see the effect in different countries across the earth. It was much more a warning shot. What are they warning? Well, they're warning about the censorship that all of these social media platforms have. I myself are removed from YouTube, as indeed are every truth speaker or patriot or a warrior, whatever you want to call us all. We're all out of YouTube because the narrative that we have, the truth, these organizations don't want. So it's a test now to see if they start to scale back their censorship. Whether they will or not is anybody's guess. There are some commentators who got very excited, and it was quite hard to follow their narrative. Some people got very angry and saying things like, I told you so, I told you this would happen, you should believe me. That's not actually really helpful. That's not the path that I follow, or we in the Connecting Consciousness follow. What we think we need to do is to get the information out there. And if we're right, we're right. And if we don't get it right, we should be honest and say, well, we didn't get that one right. But in this instance, I'm really pleased because I knew broadly what was going to happen. And that's why I did the podcast, the day before, as it were. I got that out while I knew I'd still be able to, and was able to give dates. Others too also had that information, and they got that out in their own way through their own sites. And that's important because we need to keep the believers, the truth seekers, up to date with information as best as we can. And those people who, they're not interested, well, it's not going to do them any good anyway. So let's not bother about that. A test is a test of reaction. All of these social media companies are money orientated. And so when they are taken down, they lose money from advertisers like YouTube. They lose connectivity with other platforms. They share money that way. And they lose their subscribers. And this damages the product. So the point is, these people who run these social media platforms will be very, very concerned that they were so easily taken down, and that they were not in a position to put it back. And it only came back when those who were monitoring and are in control gave it back to them. And so they will most likely want to play ball. But the reality is, of course, that those people don't run the cabal. They take orders from the cabal. And it's my guess that the cabal will continue to insist that they don't play game, they don't play ball with the good side. And the next few hours will dictate their response. And I said on my bulletin board, my blog, if you like, it's just my website, simonparks.org, but it's where I put my updates when I can't really be doing a video. I just want to give you short updates. And as I said, the ball is in their court. The next few hours will dictate what the White Hats do next. If there's no change, then this is going to happen and happen on a much more permanent level. It is true that in Facebook, which is the #1 target for the White Hats, staff who were trying to enter the server room, the main room, and new staff trying to come into the main building found that their identity cards were not being recognized by the computer controlling the security for those doors. And I'm also told that in one of the buildings that the military entered, a little bit like they did all those months ago in Germany, when they got in and arrested the head of the CIA, Gina woman. And I understand they've been into one of the buildings. For what purpose, I don't know. And so this is ongoing. Remember, we don't like 10 days of darkness. We like a number of days without communication. And goodness me, I've been using that for a few months, and that's exactly what we had in many countries. A few hours in that case of no communication. But please don't think it's over. It's just the start. Sort of a strange analogy. Apparently, you like my strange analogies. I was talking about these crazy people that would do anything and drink and eat fluoride, and about 20 of you wrote in and thought that was very funny. So I'll give you an analogy, which I'm sorry if you're American and you don't know what a cricket game is. It's okay, you're not missing much. But basically, what happened yesterday, my time, was that it was like the cup of tea that all the cricket players have before they go out and bat. It's the opening shot. And that's exactly what it was. It was to show the bad guys the depth, breadth, and capability that the United States military and its associates in other countries have. And I can assure everyone that at the highest level in the cabal, they are now formulating their response. Basically, people like me are kept off YouTube, then there's been no change, has there? So many good patriots in America and across the world who are excluded from YouTube and can't bring what they would call a conservative voice, patriotic voice. Perhaps in Britain we might just say a truth seeker's voice, people seeking the truth and just trying to share that. If that type of censorship doesn't change, then I can't see the White Hats pulling back. Okay, so what's next? And I'm sorry there weren't tanks on the streets. Many of you have written in and spoken to your coordinators, and you were disappointed at that. But there have been more serious questions, such as why do the good guys play these games? Why playing by the rules? Why are they continually giving the other side these opportunities? And the reason is that if a good guy doesn't play by the rules, then you're a bad guy. And although it is deeply, deeply frustrating that the other side are given time and chance, there are a group of people, let's just say they're in Five Wall, which at the moment is in a bit of turmoil in some departments, who would say, well, look, we don't want to get involved. We don't want to do this. This isn't right. But the more this goes on, the smaller that voice gets, and the more is the general consensus that actually we have to do it. Now, I know the general consensus in there. Military people would say, well, Simon, this has already been agreed and done, and I know that it was agreed a long time ago, but there are still dissenting voices. And what I'm saying is that the more that the bad guys show their hand, then those people who consider themselves more amenable or more balanced in their perspective are having to say, you're right, they're not listening. We're going to have to take it to the next notch. So there's a lot of chatter out there about what is the next notch, what could possibly happen. Certainly, if the media become truthful and truly report everything from the Space Force, all of these things, if they were to truly report it, that's a long way towards mending bridges, or talking about bridges. The Iron Bridge in Rome that was hit, I believe it was hit by the same weapon that the good guys used in Nashville last Christmas. And please, just because there's an explosion or something like that, your natural reaction is to think it's the bad guys, because good guys don't do that. Yes, they do. They have to. And there was a statement some time ago that the good guys said that they were going to turn the enemy's weapons on themselves, whether warfare and it's directed energy weapons or high energy beam weapons. The difference is that when the good guys do it, there isn't a loss of life. Or in Nashville, there was one loss of life, but that person was already taken out and placed in that position. The Iron Bridge over the Tiber, it is laughable what the mainstream are saying, which is hobos, tramps had a cooking fire under the bridge, and this cooking fire suddenly set fire to Steel Bridge. It's exactly the same as 9/11 because the intense heat from the fuel of the airplane melted all these millions of tons of steel and brought the building down. I thought media had got a bit more savvy. I thought they'd realised that the human race over the last years has got more with it, and to say that Hobo's cooking fire has partially destroyed an iron bridge is insane. But then maybe they are insane. So the Iron Bridge, made in 1862 in Britain. Yes. When Britain actually could do things, when we had engineers that led the world in iron forging, iron manufacture. And in 1863, this iron bridge was disassembled, sent out to Italy, and reassembled by a Belgian, I believe. I think it was a Belgian engineer, reassembled. Why was it hit by an energy beam weapon? It was hit on the same day, right back to the time that Julius Caesar overthrew the Senate in Rome. Julius Caesar was a general, and he decided that the Senate, that was the elected body ruling Rome and the Roman Empire, was corrupt, and he decided that the military could do a much better job. Are you getting the story now? He decided that the military could do a much better job, and he declared that he would be the equivalent of what we call an emperor. And so from that day onwards, right through to the end of the Roman Empire was ruled by emperors, although they kept the Senate, but the Senate was more of a glorified rubber stamp. He decided where a fountain would go or an aqueduct would go, but it was the emperor who would have the generals report to him, and it's one female emperor, I believe, where they would report, etc., etc. And so here was an interesting alert to Rome, Vatican, that this bridge was struck on the same day as that. So how did the bad guys react? Well, I believe that a bomb has been successfully defused, spanning a bridge between the United States of America and Canada. Very little information coming through on that, but that's how they've responded. So they've done a bridge for a bridge. However, this is, I believe, has been diffused. So when people say, what about all these vacant buildings? People ask me, the White House is vacant. It's nicely illuminated, a nice red color at the moment. What about Buckingham Palace in Great Britain? What about some of these other buildings that appear to be empty or vacant, which have a very bad history in terms of what might have happened there in the past? Well, it's possible that